We're speaking with the University of New England head coach Anthony Ewing as the Nor'easters prepare for the first round of the NCAA Women's Basketball Championship on Friday. Coach, first of all, congratulations. Picking up your second consecutive Commonwealth Coast Conference win on Saturday. Are you still celebrating the victory a little bit?
No, that's kind of a one-night thing. Actually, it wasn't even that. It was a few-hour thing, and then I had to get on to some very important laundry and cleaning up that gets lost in championship week. But no, you enjoy that one. But really, you don't have a lot of time to reflect on that. You find out on Monday who you play and where you go, and then you're pretty much focused on that the rest of the week.
So let's talk about the opponent a little bit. New York University, NYU. It's going to be UNE's first ever meeting against NYU, but you do have some history. When you were an assistant at Brandeis, NYU is in the same conference as Brandeis. What do you know about NYU's program and their history and the UAA in general?
Well, I'm very familiar with the UAA, having coached in that conference for 6 years down at Brandeis with Carol Simon. They're very different. Well, one thing that hasn't changed, at least from this current version of NYU and the NYU teams I faced as an assistant at Brandeis, is that they play very hard. Back when I was at Brandeis, Janice Quinn was the head coach, and she's still at NYU. I believe she's the associate athletic director. So that's been a constant. The kids play really hard. Everything else is pretty much different. With the new coach, she's in her second year. She's done a fabulous job turning the program around very quickly. I also have another connection with them. A former player of mine is their assistant coach, Cassie Loftus. I know her very well. So there's some familiarity with it, but before watching the video, I hadn't seen them play on film or live in about 3 or 4 years. So it was a reacquainting myself with the Violets yesterday.
You talk about the video. You received that around midday yesterday, so you've had it in your possession for just under 24 hours. You talk about them playing very hard. They're averaging just under 75 points a game. What are we going to see in terms of their style?
They play fast. They like to push the ball, makes and misses. They're not really looking to walk it up and get set. They run their offense, but if they can push the ball against you and get easy buckets and get the ball inside real quickly before you can set up, they're certainly looking to do that. They'll pressure. They'll try to create a little chaos if they can, and try to get you in an up and down game for sure.
They have a pair of first-team all-conference players in sophomore forward Megan Daw and first-year guard Caitlin Reed. And then they've got 4 other players that average between 7.3 and 8.6 points per game. Talk about their personnel, specifically Daw and Reed, and what strengths they bring to the game.
Well, Megan Daw is a big kid. She's got good hands. She establishes really good post position. She's good with the ball. Down in the low block, you have to give her a bunch of attention, or she'll have her way with you. Caitlin Reed, I love watching that kid play. She plays really hard. She's not a one-dimensional player. She can get to the basket. She pushes real hard in transition. She can shoot the 3, and she's an excellent defender. So really like those 2 kids, but I think the strength of NYU is, and why they did so well in the UAA, was those kids score a lot of points, but they don't have to have those kids score to win. They have other kids that can score. They don't have a lot of quote-unquote weak links out there that you can kind of just help off and not play. Almost all the kids they play can shoot the 3. They all look proficient. They all look confident, and anybody can step up on any given day.
Let's focus on the personnel of your team a little bit. No seniors start, just 1 junior start. So on paper, some people might think that this is a relatively inexperienced team, yet a lot of the younger players have a lot of big game experience. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, our sophomores, a lot of them, experience-wise, are more like juniors. Kelly Coleman, our junior captain, it's funny because people will say, "But isn't she a senior yet? Isn't she ready to graduate?" And normally when you're her coach, like you said, like I feel that too. Like not that I'm ready for Kelly to go by any stretch, but it seems like she's been here for a long time because she's been such a big part of what we've been doing since she was a freshman. I was looking at NYU, and they're very young, and so are we. But I don't feel like we're a young team. And I look at my team, people say, you guys are young, and I don't feel that. And we haven't necessarily played that way either, like a young team, really up and down, mental mistakes. We've been pretty good about that. And even our freshmen, who get out there, have played beyond their years a little bit too. Like, moments here and there, like you're always going to get. But really happy with where the kids are at with their composure and how they approach games. They approach the game like a veteran team would on a day-to-day basis, and we've had to, with the position we've been in, and people taking shots at us and really wanting to beat us. If you don't approach the game with a maturity and a focus every game, you won't have the success that we've had.
Last year, your team was sent out to Amherst College, drew Bridgewater State in the first round, and came away with the program's first ever win at the NCAA Championship. What type of experience, what can the players draw upon from last year's experience that will help them on Friday?
Well, hopefully, I'd be shocked if the kids were overwhelmed by the experience itself. I mean, 12 of the 17 kids have done this before. The juniors have done it more than once, obviously. Actually, it's their third time. So that part of it, I'd be surprised if we were a little bit shaky. And it's helpful to go through that whole process with everything, with the your mandated practice times and the shoot-arounds and just the whole ordeal of being in the NCAA tournament isn't new to a majority of the kids, which is good. But as far as year to year, it's different. It's different. A different pod, different teams in there. Our team is different, dynamically. So we'll see. NYU and Bridgewater are very different. Bridgewater is kind of unique in the way they do things, and Amherst and Tufts are different as well. And of course, St. Joe's we're a little more familiar with, being a little more local, and we play them in our non-conference. There's some familiarity there for all of us. It would be kind of like old home days for me going down there, because I know a lot of the NYU people and St. Joe's, and I know Carla as well down at Tufts, and so at least for me, I'll feel comfortable for sure.
One of the strengths of your team is its ability to play really aggressive defense. Looking at the numbers, your team is 13th in the country in points allowed per game at just over 51 allowed a game. And sophomore Lauren Hayden is leading the country right now in steals. What type of, is that the focus for you as a coach, is to build upon your defense, and that translates into some offensive opportunities? Talk about your team's defense a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's, for me, it was first and foremost. I tend to think about offense a lot more as a coach, but defense is my first priority. Once we have that in place, once we have the principles and really the mentality in place, the commitment to playing defense, everybody, and the understanding if you don't play defense, you're not going to get on the floor. The concept of thinking about your teammates and help and giving up your body and hustling and closing out urgently and all that stuff. Once you have those kind of in place, and that's just what you do as a team, then that's when I can really think about offense. I think about offense way more than I think about defense at this point, because I feel like those things are in place for the most part for us, and we've been consistent with that. And it's won us games when we haven't shot well or played well. We have the ability to play some different defenses. We don't always, it's kind of game specific, but I'm really pleased with the kids' defense and their commitment to it, and there's selflessness in doing it.
I know you've got a lot more film to watch and a lot more to do to get prepared for Friday, so we'll make this the last question. What are the keys to victory on Friday?
To beat NYU, you're going to have to defend the arc. A bunch of kids can shoot the three, but it's not the only thing. You have to be able to defend inside. You got to be able to help on the bigs. You got to be able to get back in transition, because they are going to push the ball. They're going to rotate kids. You do those things, then you take your chances offensively. They're a very good defensive team. They're going to apply pressure. They're pretty good at post defense. They got some big kids. What I tell the kids all the time in these kind of situations is the little things will add up to make a difference. NYU, one of the things I think they do exceptionally well is they win 50-50 balls. They play really hard. They get after it. And if we can limit their second chances, get those loose balls, get those extra possessions, and execute and do those little things that add up to victory, I think we'll be all right.
Great. Well, Coach, thanks for taking the time today. It'll be Friday evening, UNE taking on NYU at 6 p.m., Tufts University in the first round of the NCAA Women's Basketball Championship.